Hi, I'm Ms. Pat, Education Associate at the Customs House Museum and Cultural Center, and I was just taking a closer look at some bird nests. Have you ever really looked at a bird nest to see what it's made out of? This one right here that I was looking at looks like it's made out of mud and dried grasses. This one that I was looking at, I can see twigs in there and feathers, more dried grasses. Birds will basically make a bird nest out of anything they can find. Well, what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to construct a bird nest that uses the actual, genuine, real kinds of materials that real birds do out in nature. The first thing you're going to want to do is collect your nesting materials. The kinds of things that birds use in nature are things like twigs, shredded paper, dried grasses, yarn, string, hair or fur, feathers, moss, cotton balls, dried grasses, really anything they can find. Now, birds a lot of times will use mud to help form the shape of the nest and hold it all together. So we're going to want to start with mud. There is a PDF that accompanies this video that has all the instructions and supplies, as well as concepts you might want to discuss with your child as they're doing this activity. I just went outside, got about 2.5 cups of mud. I'm going to start by adding twigs to form the outside structure. A whole bunch of twigs. I think I made my mud a little bit too wet, so I have a little bit of dirt left over. I'm going to just add a little bit in. Make it a little bit thicker. So we're going to want to add the twigs and the dried grasses into the mud mixture. And get that all mixed up together. I'm going to add a little bit more mud, or a little bit more dirt, and a splash more water. Now, in nature, birds don't just use mud as a glue to hold everything together. They also use their saliva or spit, and they also use spider webs to hold the nest together. So we're going to pretend that this glue is spider web silk. And we're going to pour it over the mud mixture. And we're going to mix all that in together, making a good foundation for a bird nest. What we're going to do with this mud mixture now is to line this paper bowl with the outside of the nest. So I'm just going to take the mud mixture and I'm going to push it in the plate, put it in the bowl rather. Push it up around the edges of the bowl. Okay, that's the foundation for our nest. I'm going to add a little bit more spider web to our nest. And what I'm going to do next is add some of the other nesting materials to our nest. Okay, so now I'm going to take some of our other nesting materials and kind of interweave them or intersperse them in our bird nest. Right now I'm taking some of the shredded paper and adding that. I might add a little bit more spider web. And I'm going to take some yarn and string, put that in our bird nest, because that's very popular for birds to use. You know, if you want to, you can make this a game with your child. In nature, the bird parent, either the mom bird or the dad bird, forages for the nesting material. They go out and search for it. You can make this a game and put these nesting materials, hide them around your house, and let your little child, let your little one go around and search for the nesting materials and collect them, just like a parent bird would. Adding some twine. I'm going to add some feathers. Now in nature, a bird parent would never want to use really bright colored feathers like this. You can talk to your child about why that is. But that's all I had available. And it's not uncommon in a bird nest to see hair. People hair or like dog hair. So I'm going to put some dog hair in my bird nest. And then especially in the middle, the bird saves it for the really soft, warm material to cushion the eggs and keep them warm. So in the center down here in the middle, I'm going to put some fluffy cotton and a little bit of soft moss. You could use grass clippings in the center to cushion the eggs. There. Our bird nest is now ready for eggs. You can make some little bird eggs out of Play-Doh and put them in your nest. You can see beautiful representations of bird nests as well as bird eggs in the museum's exhibit of the beam porcelains. Since the whole part of constructing a bird nest is for a bird to lay eggs into, I thought we'd take a little bit closer look at the parts of an egg. This is a chicken egg. Feel it, feeling the shell. What does that feel like? The chick grows inside the shell, so the shell protects it. You can't see it, but there's about 17,000 little tiny pores or holes in the chicken shell, so air can pass in and out. And the shell also keeps out germs and dust. Let's open up the egg, see what's inside there. What parts do we see? Well, I see this yellow part. It's called the yolk. The yolk is where the little embryo, the little chick baby, grows inside the egg, and the yolk provides all kinds of nutrition and food. I see this part. Look at that. That's called the egg white. Looks like not all the egg white is the same. This is kind of thinner, thicker. Well, the egg white surrounds the chick as it's developing in the egg, and it protects it. One more part I see is this white, kind of thick white part. Well, that is kind of a thick egg white like rope that acts like little anchors that holds the yolk in the center of the egg. I hope you've enjoyed today being a mama bird or a papa bird and constructing a bird nest. Thank you.
Welcome to the Craft Corner with Parks and Rec. I'm Penny Green, and today we're at the Burt Cobb Rec Center, and I have my daughter, Casey.
Hi.
Today we are gonna make books for the kiddos to take on their nature walks. For this project, they are going to need a brown paper lunch sack, any kind of paper. They're gonna need at least the stapler and scissors. Something they can add to tie off their book and close would be yarn and also a hole punch. They're going to need crayons and a writing utensil at some point to label their books. And then once they go on their nature walk and they find their wonders, they're gonna need tape to mount it in the book. Let me show you the parts of this book right now. So as I said, I went ahead and hole punched mine and then put a piece of yarn to tie it shut. The cool thing about this book is we've left a pocket in the front, so as they're going on their walk, they can fill it and just put their different findings in it. And it would also give them an opportunity if they wanted to write as they're going where they were when they found it. To give you an idea, on the first page, I just went ahead and mounted a clover, taped it in, and then labeled it. I'm just gonna set that to the side. The first step in this is you're gonna take your paper sack and you're gonna fold it in half. Now it's up to you which side of this is the front cover and which side of this is the back cover. I kind of like the front cover to have the pocket, just so I know when I tie mine shut that it stays closed. But if you'd prefer the thicker side as the front, it's up to you. And then like I said, I like being able to close mine. So I'm gonna go ahead and do mine one way, and I'm gonna let Casey do hers another way. I'm gonna show you how to do it with the 2-hole punch, and Casey's gonna do hers like we did the example with the 1-hole punch. And you're just gonna get a piece of yarn and put it to the side. While she's doing that, let me show you the next thing we're gonna do. Then you're gonna get paper. As thick as you wanna use this is really gonna be, or as much as you wanna use this is gonna be dependent on how much paper you're gonna use. If you're gonna make a new one for every walk you go on, which would be a really awesome idea, and then you can start a whole collection of these, then I would just probably use 3 or 4 pieces of paper. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold long ways, like a hot dog, fold it in half, and then you're gonna fold it in half again, like a hamburger. And then when you open it up, you'll see the 4 lines on the paper. At that point, you're just gonna take the scissors and you're gonna cut across the lines. And stack your paper. You ready for the big scissors, Casey?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So with this, the folding, pretty simple, fine motor skill, ages 4 and 5 on up. When we're dealing with scissors, definitely the younger kids, make sure you're using rounded safety scissors or you're assisting them with that part of the skill. Once we get the paper cut, you're going to place it inside the book like that. And you're just gonna take a stapler and 1, 2. I like to do 2, you can do 1, you can do 3, as many as you want. This is also a really great skill for kids to build up their fine motor muscles in their hands. So while Casey's finishing that, I'm gonna show you the next step. This is when the kiddos would go ahead and decorate their covers, write whatever they want. They can color on the inside of the book, and then I've already done that with this one, so for time's sake, let me show you how we're gonna mount things on the inside. I'm just using regular Scotch tape, and then you just take their wonder that they found, their favorite thing, and you're just gonna start taping it down in the book. While we were preparing for this project, tell them what you found outside, Casey.
I found a 4-leaf clover, and I've never found a 4-leaf clover before, so that was really exciting to me.
So, you know, maybe if your little one found a 4-leaf clover, this would be the perfect place to document it and save it. And we're, like I said, we're just using regular Scotch tape. If you had the thicker tape, you could. I wouldn't recommend using glue because it's not gonna protect it. So as you can see, I got mine in there, all sides covered. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna label mine. And then I found it today at the Burt Cobb Rec Center. So when you do that, and like I said, you have their little pockets. As they're walking, they can put their things in it, and then when they're done, you're just gonna take the string and feed it through and tie it in a bow. Just like that. Awesome. So these are our nature books that we've made today on the Craft Corner with Parks and Rec. Like we've said before, if you have followed our videos and you've participated and made something, share it in the comments. We'd love to see it. We'll see you next time on the Craft Corner. Bye, guys.
Hi, I'm Sue Lewis. I'm the Curator of Education at the Customs House Museum and Cultural Center in Clarksville, Tennessee. I'd like to welcome you today for a brief visit with our Bean Porcelain exhibit. We're celebrating its 25th anniversary. It's currently in our Crouch Gallery, so we can exhibit all the pieces that are in the collection. This collection is usually housed in the Dunwoody collection and another portion of our building. So this gives people an opportunity for the next several weeks to have a look at all the Bean porcelains that we own. These are birds and flower porcelains, although Bean does many other animals and plants as well. So what we're looking at today are birds' nests. And we have 3 representations of 3 different kinds of birds and their nests in the museum. So we're going to take a look at those. And the first nest that we're looking at, this is a robin's nest. Robins are probably the most easiest to identify birds. And although people often associate them with spring, they are in our part of the country year-round. But like a lot of other birds, spring is the time when they're finding mates and building nests and hatching their young. So you often see a lot of them for that reason. Like I said, they're the easiest to identify. Although the male has a darker breast, the underpart of the bird is usually a darker, a little bit brighter, rusty red color. The female is very similar, so it's pretty easy to identify both the male and the female. Their nests are built up in trees. They collect all kinds of materials for their nests, whether it's twigs or pieces of moss, any kind of plant material, yarn. If you have something in your yard, that's not a part of a plant, they will incorporate that into their nest as well. Of course, the main thing is they want to protect their babies, so they're going to put them in a part of the tree where it's not as easily accessible by any predators, and also so that they're well hidden. They like to camouflage. Using their natural markings helps them to be camouflaged in the nest, such as there's streaks on their underside as well, also on the top of their the feathers in their bodies. They blend in then with the materials that are often found, in the natural environment. Their eggs are called robin blue, and so they're pretty easy to identify by their color. There's another bird that is in the same family. This is called a wood thrush. And the wood thrush, being in the same family, it also has some of the similar, the speckledness underneath its breast, which you can see, the robin has that. But as we will note, that it is also different because it is a different kind of bird, but in the same family. Now the wood thrush, you can see here again, is speckledy brown underneath its breast. It does not have the bright orange. And with the wood thrush, the male and the female are so similar, it is very difficult to tell them apart. Usually in the bird world, the male is a lot brighter. This is so he can attract a mate and show off his fancy feather, as well as his skills at singing and to trying to win over a mate to build a family with. But in the wood thrush, it's so close between the male and the female markings that it is, unless you're a really, really good bird watcher who's had lots of experience in the field, it's not as easy to tell them apart. In this case, we have the babies. Their eggs are also a blue, a shade of blue. So even their eggs are very similar to the American robin eggs. Again, a similar kind of nest, lots of twigs, pieces, just whatever they find around in the woods. And they will even build, this is an azalea. Azaleas are shrubs, they're not trees, they're flowering shrubs, but they can get to be quite tall. People plant them in their yard. And so wood thrushes will nest in trees as well as in large shrubs. You notice that they're bringing some food there. Different birds, of course, eat different kinds of things. Robins, although they eat berries or particularly with grains and insects, they do start their babies off on worms, and so they eat a lot of earthworms, so you often see them digging around for the worms. But they also use insects, and so in this case you see that the parent here, can't tell if it's a mom or dad, but moms and dads both feed the babies and care for the babies. Babies don't usually stay at home, but if, probably less than 2 weeks. But they're kept busy. You see how big their mouths are. It's easy for them for the parent to see the open mouth and to be able to put the food into the baby's mouth. Now the other nest that we have representing, this is an American redstart. Sometimes birds are have one color, say redstart, but when you look at it, when I think about what red is, I think of like the bright fire engine kind of red, and I don't see that. But we do have that bright orangish, reddish color. And it really shows off in their wings and their tails when their wings are spread out, and they often spread their tails. Again, this is a way of showing off. What's interesting in with the American redstart, the female bird has more of yellow. She's not the bright orangey red, but the parts that you see there that are bright orangey red with a little bit of yellow in them, those are usually, that's more yellow in the female, which you can actually see. See, sometimes we think we've seen everything, and just by telling you about what I'm seeing, I just realized that there is the female redstart. So you can see the difference in the female and the male, the colors, the brightness. But the female, instead of being that black color, dark blue, that the female has a much lighter colored body. And you can see how she's going to blend in with the nest a lot more easily than the male does, who has the bright colors. So while she's keeping the eggs warm, she is also blending in really well with the nest. But in most cases with birds, both the mother and the father are parents to the eggs. They do the keeping the nest warm and protecting the nest, scaring off other birds or any other kind of predator. And so in both cases, both parents are needed. They collect the food to bring to the babies to feed them, as well as also keeping the eggs warm until they have ready to hatch. So these are just some of the birds that we have. These three, I think, as far as about representing the different kinds of nests, but as you can tell in this video, we have representations of many other kinds of birds. Some of these are found in Clarksville. Good places to bird watch are oftentimes just in your own yard, whether you put out bird seed or not. If you are still and are quiet, and you may be surprised to see how many different bird sounds that you hear. And then you can also pay attention. I have a bird that's been flying up at my window, and I kept thinking, what is this bird doing? And this morning I actually realized that it's some type of flycatcher. And the flycatchers, which are like the American redstart, they are flitting around all the time. Unlike robins who go along around ground hopping and so forth looking for worms, flycatchers are darting through the air catching insects. And so that's what I discovered this morning. So I hope that you find ways to discover new things that are in your world, things that are around us all the time, but we just take the time to stop and look and listen and maybe look at things from a different perspective. Maybe sometimes sit down and look at something, because it will probably look a lot different than what you see when you're standing up. So thank you. We hope you come see us soon.